Okay, so as you're going through your cat-cow, your flexion extension, spinal segmentation, and if you begin to notice that there's areas that feel more difficult to move through, move in, spots that are stickier, you're probably right. There are probably spots within your spine that are less mobile, that through time have received less motion, and then therefore now just move less as a consequence of that. And it's common among most of us, and everybody has their own spots that tend to move less, move more, and that's what we're going to hope to re-educate here, teach our bodies to move more fluidly throughout our segmentation. And the first step in doing so is filming yourself doing your spinal segmentation. So as you go through these motions, just set up your phone camera, your computer camera, or have somebody watch you, whatever you can, and go through it at an even pace. And then re-watch yourself and try to pick out the spots, and you can correlate them with your subjective feeling of areas that don't move as much. And then what you may notice is you'll have one segment with not a lot of movement, and then one sort of fulcrum point in your spine, a hinge point that we're going to call it, where my lower back is here, my upper back is here, and as I move from lower to upper, it kind of just dumps into one spot, unless I'm really focusing intention on not doing that. And what we want to do is help distribute motion into the areas below that hinge point and also above, anywhere that's necessary, so that we can get more even distribution of motion and force throughout our spine. Okay, so step one is filming, and then step two, we are going to use a tool like a pink rubber eraser, possibly a pen if it's comfortable enough, something that we're just going to place on those points of our spine that don't move as much, so we can provide some tactile feedback so our brain and our body can register the areas, and we're going to try to move from there even more. And then we're eventually going to incorporate that into our global spinal segmentation of flexion and extension, with the end result of hopefully achieving more movement there. Okay? So first, film yourself. Second, grab whatever you can, lighter, eraser, wine cork, something that's not going to totally cause you immense discomfort as we lay down on it. And then we'll carry on. Okay. Okay, for the sake of this video, I'm going to assume an arbitrary spot on my spine that I've identified as lacking, let's say, any movement. So for me, actually, it is in my lumbar spine that I could use a little more motion, as deemed by myself. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my tool here, my pink rubber eraser, and I'm going to locate the spot in between two vertebrae that I feel I need to get more motion from. So let's say it right here. And then I'm going to roll down with that little tool in between those segments of my spine. And I'm going to take a few moments here just to lay down, take a few breaths, chill out, and mentally just try to locate where that object is in relation to the rest of my body. And once I feel like I have it, in the lower back, if an eraser is too small, you could buffer it with two erasers or something underneath so you can actually feel it. The point is to feel it there, not to guess. And then to start out, what we're going to do is work through flexion and extension, although we're just going to locate it in that segment of our spine where we have the tool, and we just want to try to move from that area as much as possible. So when I think about flexing around that tool, creating space in between these two segments of my spine, I don't just want to go full force down. Again, we're trying to retrain our body here. And the thing about our body is it tends to move however it tends to move. It goes into the easiest route of action. And we want to try to resist that and implement more variability here. So, in terms of flexion, I'm going to start out with a nice breath, calm myself down, and then slowly again locate that object, and then very gently at first think about pressing down into the floor, into that object. I'm trying to keep everything else up here neutral as I just try to increase the amount of pressure that's on that eraser. And I'm going to go until like I feel the rest of my back and my spine is starting to react or starting to act more than it needs to. I'm going to hold there 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and then slowly start to let pressure off, and then go from letting pressure off to almost peeling up. Imagine hollowing a little space around the eraser, so you're extending your spine. And again, trying to keep all of this on the floor, thinking about creating a little gap in between the floor and that eraser here. And then coming back down nice and slow with control. And then again, going through flexion. And if it looks like I'm not doing anything, that's the point. We want it to be subtle. We're just trying to move in between two spaces of our spine here. And then again, pressing down into the eraser, flexing, holding that for 5-10 seconds, coming up, extending. And then what I'll do is I'll just pick up the eraser, move it to the next point of my spine that I want to work on, and repeat the process from there. And this is something simple that you can do watching TV, reading a book, laying down. You could even do this sitting, having something up against a chair or a wall. Doesn't need to be difficult, just need to do it. So identify your points that you feel like you could use more movement from, or ask a friend to watch you and help you identify. Grab a tool and then spend time just trying to practice subtle motions of the spine, getting more gapping in between those segments. And then once you're done, go back to your normal cat-cow, cat-camel, integrate it into your global spinal movement, and see how it feels.